Troy Davis, a 43-year-old black man, is on Georgia death row. Most of the witnesses at his prior trial have recanted, changed their stories. There's an amazing amount of doubt in this particular case, but unless the governor intervenes in that particular case and commutes his sentence or provides clemency, this man is going to die. Jimmy Carter, Pope Benedict, Desmond Tutu have all contacted state authorities saying, we've looked at the facts, this guy should not die. Amnesty International is doing a very, very good crusade. You can go to their website and read more about Troy Davis, and you should. But he is sort of a poster boy for the problems we see in the death penalty, where you have doubt, class issues, race issues, other issues that are so significant that it's time to either do away with the death penalty or to put a moratorium on it, a national moratorium, and study the issue to make sure that if we're killing people, we're at least doing it in a just way. I've written a commentary on this subject. The death penalty is a miscarriage of justice. It should be abolished. It's on our website at rutherford.org. You should read it. I think it should be abolished. I think that because of human error, the corruption that's in the so-called justice system we see in the United States, it's time to abolish the death penalty. Believe it or not, the United States' Western allies have done away with the death penalty. They have awakened to the fact that the state should not be killing people. Only 3 industrialized nations are left that even perpetuate the death penalty, and it's the United States. And believe it or not, the United States is 5th behind such regimes as China, Iran, and North Korea in the number of people that it kills through the death penalty. In fact, the president of Iran has called upon our hypocrisy, as he calls it. Last year, when the state of Virginia was going to execute Teresa Lewis, a lady who had totally rehabilitated herself and was helping death row prisoners and others in her prison, he said we were hypocrites to even criticize countries like Iran for stoning people in terms of their death penalty measures. One of the biggest issues we face in the death penalty is the class and the race issue. Most people that sit on death row are poor, black, or minorities. Believe it or not, folks, 42% of people sitting on death row are black, and blacks only make up 12% of the population. The rest are poor and Hispanic. Wealthy people do not sit on death row. Why? Because they can hire expensive law firms to defend them. Poor people wind up with lawyers who are appointed, who are not as dedicated in terms of making the money, and are not as good, usually as good attorneys. So they end up on death row. Whereas people like O.J. Simpson, by the way, or any other rich people can hire the right lawyers. Even if they look as guilty as sin, they don't end up on death row. And this has been recognized by some pretty esteemed people. For example, and I'm quoting Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she has said in one of the Supreme Court opinions, "I have yet to see a death case among the dozen coming to the Supreme Court on the eve of execution stay applications in which the defendant was well represented at trial. People who are well represented at trial do not get the death penalty." There's the argument that's been put forth that the death penalty is a deterrent to so-called future crimes. Well, believe it or not, 67% of the police chiefs in America, when they were polled, said that isn't true. There are no studies that even indicate that killing people, putting them on death row and then killing them, in any way is a deterrent for crime. So again, that raises the question of why we're doing it. Also, if you want to save money in tough economic times, it's more expensive to execute somebody by way of the death penalty than to just put them in prison for life. All the appeals and expenses of the courts is much more expensive than to put someone in prison for life. So the question is, why are we doing it? There are more things I can say about the death penalty, and the arguments are preponderant against it. But one thing I would ask people to pause and think about. Should we, as human beings, knowing other human beings with all their problems, their errors, the corruption in the systems of government, even in the United States, we see it at the federal level in the United States, the local level, should we give that right to governmental bodies to kill people? Does that really make sense? To give the right to kill to corrupt state institutions. It's the most awesome power. Why would we do that? So the most sensible thing here is to put a moratorium on the death penalty. We should study it. And if the arguments that I've seen put forth against it are correct, then it should be abolished.